Welcome to the Good Stuff Family Podcast. I'm Dawn Kendrick, and I am so glad you're here. This is the place you're going to find genuine inspiration in authentic, vulnerable stories that are distinctly different than anything you'll see in mainstream media. The story that binds all of these together, it's my own testimony. A candid, transparent story of my own journey. Holy shifts, grit, grind, divine design. Stories from a former news reporter with a renewed purpose. Welcome to the family. Welcome to our In Their Own Words author series. We are working our way through Murphys Don't Quit. If this is your first time joining us, I would encourage you. We're on chapter 11. So we have author Colleen Murphy, who's my friend. She reads every Friday, except when they're on the speaking circuit, which is the spoiler alert, the story about her daughter Lauren's traumatic brain injury and their journey through it. So check those previous ones out. If not, if you're up to speed, here we are at chapter 11 with keeping us on our toes. I'm bringing in my friend Colleen. Hey, oh, she might have had, did you have an alarm? Was it an alarm again?
No, it was the dog.
Oh,
That's the empty chair. He came in to visit.
That's funny. You're super mama. We know that already. So I'm not surprised. Like you're juggling things all the time. That's awesome. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. We had a bye last week. Were you guys enjoying yourselves?
Yes, we were in Charleston, South Carolina. Beautiful place.
Did you know I was born there?
No, I did not.
How about that little trivia about your friend Dawn? My dad was in the Navy.
Yeah. It was never even on my radar, but now I think we will definitely be back.
It's beautiful. I went back for a wedding. A college friend of mine got married at the Citadel. It was gorgeous.
Okay. Except we went there.
You did? You went there? Yeah.
My nephew went there.
Oh, I thought you meant you visited while you're there.
No.
Yeah. It's so pretty. Really pretty. And we moved before I was old enough to get the accent. I would have loved to have had a Southern accent, but it didn't stick. It didn't stick. Yeah. I got the St. Louis one where we say highway farty. Does that even count as an accent or just wrong?
For sure. Yeah. I'll call it an accent.
Whatever it is, we are proud of you guys in St. Louis for sure. Murphys Don't Quit is this book that for me, again, I have notes all written all over. It made me laugh. It made me cry. And most importantly, it inspired me. And so that's why I'm so grateful that you're doing this reading chapter by chapter. And we're hoping if you're listening that it'll inspire you as well. It's just a story of getting through a traumatic brain injury, but it speaks to anyone else. Wouldn't you say? Isn't that your hope? Oh, yeah. Anyone else up against something?
Yeah, for sure. Anybody that has any type of hurdle to leap over. Yeah, I think it's a good roadmap for what to do, what not to do.
Yeah, and the together we can, together we will that we say here. It's true. How the community rose up. That's the next chapter, I think, actually. But you want to start today then on chapter 11, keeping us on our toes. Again, Colleen Murphy reading from Murphys Don't Quit.
Perfect. Okay. Get my cheaters on. I'm not sure what I was expecting when we left Chicago, but I can guarantee it wasn't some of the crazy quirks Lauren had started to pick up. Living with quirks wasn't completely foreign to me, yet this was a whole new level. Dave has always been a little quirky. At the start of our marriage, I thought some of the odd things he did were kind of cute. Through the years, his cuteness has definitely dissipated, and some of his habits are enough to drive me mad. He refuses to go to a drive-thru, preferring to go inside and watch the cashier push all the buttons. He even has a certain way he orders a meal at McDonald's to trick them into asking more specific questions about his order to ensure accuracy. The sad part is some of my kids are picking up on his weird behavior and think it's normal. To be fair, although I am not quirky, some may put me in the category of crazy. Looking back, I often wonder if it was such a sound decision to create so many children. Sometimes I look at them and wonder, which one is the craziest? Each and every one of them brings their own special brand of crazy, crazy, quirky, crazy cuckoo, or crazy, quirky cuckoo to the Murphy table. To the outside world, it's hard to see. But Dave and I sit back and laugh watching our two sons-in-law realize they have both gotten themselves into quite the pickle. Murphy crazy is a special kind of crazy. Dave has a favorite parking spot at the grocery store. If it's taken, he contemplates going to a different grocery store. Back when he was a Pepsi addict, he would go to bed with a full glass of Pepsi on his nightstand. If I took a drink, he would refill it to the rim. It had to be completely full. The 2-liter bottle always on the nightstand next to his glass. He rarely even drank his Pepsi at night, but it was there like a security blanket, just in case he needed it. He has since replaced the security of his full glass of Pepsi with a weighted blanket. Stand back, ladies, he's all mine. I vaguely remember learning in religion class that some people spend their purgatory while living on earth. Once Lauren was home, her improvements were substantial. But just like everything else in her recovery, improvements were often a double-edged sword. Friends would come to visit, and if she saw them walking up the driveway, she would crawl into her bed or go upstairs and hide in one of her siblings' beds. She struggled with facing people. She was becoming more aware, and it made her sad. There was one notable exception. Her friend Courtney was back living in New York, but when she was in town, Lauren was always happy to see her. They had a connection that was so deep, even brain injury couldn't keep them from finding a way to connect. Lauren's speech was still pretty random and a far cry from conversational. Once, while Courtney was visiting, and Lauren looked at her friend's ears and said, "Your earrings look cheap." I loved it when she said something that was reminiscent of the old Lauren. Courtney laughed, and admitting they were cheap, which made it even funnier. It reminded me of that last December when I was visiting Lauren in New York. It was a really cold week, and the coat I brought with me wasn't very warm. This was before Uber and Lyft were available in New York, so finding a cab in the city during bad weather was tough. While Lauren was at work, I went to Macy's and bought a new mid-thigh length white puffy coat with a fur-lined hood. I thought it looked young and trendy, and it was a bonus that I bought it in New York. I felt super cool. When I saw Courtney, she even told me how cute my coat was. I was feeling pretty proud of myself that I made the right choice. Lauren showed up last, looked at my coat, and scrunched up her nose. That coat has a really cheap-looking zipper. I rolled my eyes and told her I didn't care and that Courtney loved my new coat. She probably hated it too. The entire rest of the weekend in New York, I got the zipper stuck in the fabric of my cheap coat at least 4 times. A couple of times I resorted to stepping out of it in the middle of a restaurant to make it easier to fix. I hate it when my kids are right. Back at home, Lauren and our house were both under construction, and I was realizing that neither one of them was going to be a quick fix. Most of the house was getting redone, so obviously I couldn't keep the same furniture. No, that would have been cost-effective and resourceful, words that weren't part of my vocabulary. Now I needed to find a new comforter for Kelsey and Maggie's bed, and thought it would be good for Lauren to come along to get her out of the house. The first store on our list was JCPenney's. While we were looking at the bed and the bag sets against the back wall, I noticed that Lauren was no longer standing next to us. The silent ninja strikes again. I panicked for a second, but knew she couldn't have gotten too far. It was literally 5 seconds ago that she was standing next to me, and she was still a little unsteady on her feet. I rounded the corner and found her lying comfortably in one of the display beds. I'm not going to lie, many times throughout my childhood, while shopping with my mom, I often thought about pulling back the covers and climbing into those comfy-looking beds myself. I tried to get Lauren up as quickly as possible without anyone in the store noticing, but she wasn't budging. I finally yanked her up with all my might. Once upright, she started walking toward another display bed. I knew this was not going to work, so I gave Kelsey my keys and asked her to take Lauren out to the car while Maggie and I looked around for a few more minutes. Maggie and I had just started looking at the rest of the comforters when Kelsey called me from the parking lot. Apparently, Lauren had taken the keys away from her because she was afraid Kelsey was trying to leave without me. I realized it would have been easier to just let Lauren nap in the display beds while we took our time browsing until security noticed and escorted us out. This was one of the many shopping fails with Lauren during those first few months home. Another new thing Lauren started doing was taking items out of my shopping cart at the grocery store and putting them back on the shelves. Sometimes she would put them immediately back in the correct spot, but a little crooked. Other times she would start taking things from 3 or 4 aisles over and stick them anywhere. There was really no logical explanation for which items she would deem unworthy of our purchasing. But one thing we knew for sure was that if she decided it was a no, there was no way we would be able to get the item back into our cart. One of those shopping sprees, I left Lauren and Dave in the dairy section so I could return one of her no items to its proper place. When I came back, I found Dave pleading with Lauren to let him put the Kraft singles back in the cart. He kept rambling on and on how much he likes cheese on his sandwiches. They both had a tight grip on the package of cheese. I walked directly between them, grabbed the pack of cheese, put it back in the refrigerator shelf, and let Dave know that he could still enjoy his sandwiches without cheese. Besides, he didn't need the extra calories. She was saving him from. This behavior wasn't limited to the grocery store. We took several trips to Target on days where she didn't have therapy. On one visit, she selected a multicolored scarf. It was hideous, but she really wanted it. Turns out she got a ton of compliments, and the rest of my girls all liked it. Obviously, I know nothing. I was just a mom in a cheap coat with a broken zipper. Several of our Target trips ended abruptly. Whenever Lauren would dart towards the door, some days I only had a few items, other times I had a full cart. When Lauren decided it was time to go, nothing could stop her. I still feel bad for whichever employee found the random abandoned carts littered around the store every week. The easiest solution would be to discontinue going out in public, but I knew I needed to find a way for her to learn proper behavior, and these everyday excursions were necessary parts of therapy. Domestic tasks were also becoming part of therapy. Lauren helped unload the dishwasher. I would give her the silverware to sort and put away. The knives were still hidden. Good thing I'm not a neat freak. Lauren either never noticed the dividers in our silverware drawer or just assumed the flatware looked best in some sort of abstract design on top of the dividers. At least they were clean. One place that Lauren liked to go for lunch was Subway. For whatever reason, Lauren always felt really comfortable while we ordered Subway and would try and tell the employees what she wanted on her sandwich before I had a chance to order it for her. I knew it was best to let her do it herself, but she was still only producing gibberish, and it made for a pretty awkward sandwich assembly line. I would get nervous at the counter, wondering what Lauren might say. Shannon was with me the day Lauren was asked by an employee what she would like on her sandwich, and Lauren stood up tall and said with complete confidence and tone, University of Lettuce. Shannon and I immediately busted out laughing. It came out of nowhere. The poor employee just looked at us like we had all lost our minds. The more we tried to stop laughing, the more we laughed. Lauren stood there thoroughly confused and completely void of any type of facial expression, which made the situation even funnier. I know everyone else in line thought we were on drugs. Nope, we're just a little crazy. No drugs needed. We were finally able to pull ourselves together and get the heck out of there. From that day forward, I drove 10 miles out of my way to a different Subway every time I wanted to get her a sandwich. Going out to eat as a family wasn't a common occurrence. Not only was it expensive, but it was hard to coordinate schedules around sports teams, college, and work in order to get everyone together at the same time. Also, Lauren would do her very own version of dine and dash. She skipped right over the dine part. She would bolt for the door before our food even arrived. We quickly learned after the accident that I needed to have strategies in place in order for Lauren to have successful outings. One of our strategies was to have more than one car if Lauren bolted. I would take her home and Dave could stay with the rest of the family and have our meals boxed up. There was nothing I enjoyed more than eating a cold burger with a soggy bun and French fries an hour and a half after ordering. Another strategy was to sit her in the middle of the table with her back to the front door. This often helped, and every once in a while we made it to the end of a meal. Another quirk Lauren picked up was credit cards and writing checks. She understood the concept that things cost money, but was still way off. She would try and write a check wherever we went. Sometimes she signed her name correctly, other times she would sign my name. The amount was always a crazy high amount. At therapy, she would leave mid-session and give the girl at the front desk a check for $3,000 for her copay. Our drywall taper got a check for $7,000. She also went through a phase where she would take all of her credit cards and or mine out of our wallets and carry them around, stacked in her hand all day. She would not put them down to even use the bathroom. She was still only washing one hand anyway, so no need to put the credit cards down to wash her hands. While Lauren was at RIC, Eucharistic ministers from a neighboring Catholic church would bring the patients and families communion. Lauren was NPO, which is a Latin medical term that means nothing by mouth. She couldn't receive communion herself, but they brought it to me every day. I used to pray that someday Lauren would be able to take communion again. As surprisingly, church was one of the places she would sit for a full hour. She was never an overly religious person, but her foundation was there, and it was rock solid. It would be hard to grow up in a big Irish Catholic family, attend 12 years of Catholic school, and not have a little bit of faith. I would love to say she went to Mass every Sunday in New York, or that all of my adult children attend Mass every Sunday. Then I'd have to go to confession. When we first started bringing Lauren to Mass with us after her accident, I would stay in the pew with her during communion. Do you keep hearing those beeps, by the way? Sorry, my texting is going crazy because it's my grandson's birthday.
I do, Mama. I
I'm
do.
sorry. If I put it on mute, you can't hear me, but the family group chat's going crazy.
No worries.
It's only a 3-year-old's birthday, but apparently there's lots of chatter. Anyway, when we first started bringing Lauren to Mass with us after her accident, I would stay in the pew with her during communion. Eventually, when she was becoming more and more aware, she got in the communion line. I hoped memory would kick in and she would remember what to do. This time would be different. This was special. When she went up to receive communion, she brought with her many gifts, or rather gift cards. Her left hand clutched a stack of at least 10 Visa gift cards, Starbucks rewards, Loft, and Nordstrom credit cards, all the good ones. I'm not sure what type of transaction she thought she would be entering into with God. Was there a reward program? One morning, I saw Lauren at the sink brushing her teeth for probably the 10th time of the day. She was in our powder room, which was unusual. I went in to check on her, and she looked at me and smiled. Her teeth were covered in something black. She had been brushing her teeth with a mascara wand. Is that mascara? Or maybe it's Maybelline. Her therapist explained that this was normal and all part of the healing process. Her brain was figuring things out, and mascara wands and toothbrushes are both long and thin. It was kind of ironic that the girl who kept Crest white strips in business while she was in high school was now brushing her teeth with mascara. Despite some of the craziness, I could definitely see in her eyes that things were becoming clearer and more focused. Dave always described it like he felt she was covered in a thin veil, everything just out of reach. She was so close we could see it. We just couldn't quite figure out how to remove that veil and bring our Lauren back to us. Fortunately for me, I never realized how thick that thin veil really was. I was still sad all the time through my own veil of sadness. I searched for the positive. I kept coming back to the words of Dr. Chen, find the positive. Many days I had to reach further than I knew was humanly possible. But if I looked hard enough, it was there. My days were hard and extremely long, but through all the craziness and relearning, there were bright new beginnings, and Lauren was working her way back to us. This was the stage where I perfected the silent cry. I was the strong one. It was up to me to fix this. That was my job. Dave's job was to support all my crazy ideas and love me despite my constant sadness. He's the only one who truly knew how bad things really were. On Facebook and Caringbridge and Instagram, things were fabulous. But every night I went to bed and soaked my pillow with hundreds of quiet tears. I would relive the events of the day and plead with God to show me a way and give me the wisdom to make things better. We needed our Lauren back, and Dave and the kids needed regular cuckoo Colleen to return.
There's a lot in here. Faith, we don't talk about it a lot, but it's always was the underlying strength for you, was it not?
Oh, for sure.
Tell me more about that importance about communion and being Catholic and just every single day leaning into faith.
For sure. So, I mean, being Catholic has been part of my identity since, whenever I can remember. All of my grade school friends, are from All Souls School in St. Louis and Overland. And we still keep in touch to this day. And, I can't think of any memory, without those people are part of my faith, and obviously as you get older, I think it's pretty normal for your faith to take a back seat, which, through the young years, especially, that foundation is always there. I had kids young, so my faith came back probably quicker than some people just because I wanted those same things for my kids that I had growing up. And I think once you become a parent, you really realize, you look back on your childhood and you either think, I want to do the opposite or I want to do the same. And in my case, I wanted to do the same. So my faith was always a big part of who I was. I'm not one that goes out and, tries to bring people in. I try to live by example, but I'm also pretty honest, and I've always been pretty real, and I don't mind showing my flaws. I actually relish in it. I'm an oversharer, but it was just always there. And it, I just felt like when it happened, I knew things were going to be okay, even though all signs pointed to that they weren't. And I attributed that to my faith, that for some reason I just had this overwhelming sense of peace that we were going to end up okay. Mm-hmm. And my husband and I often say, and not to knock people that don't have faith, because everybody has their own journey, but what do people do in cases like this that don't have faith? Because without faith, I would have had nothing, nothing. Also, signs pointed to, if she did live, a future in a nursing home. So luckily, I just, put that aside and, concentrated on doing the steps that I needed for her to get better, and just had faith that we were going to be okay. We were going to come out of this okay.
And again, for people who maybe haven't been following the whole series, this is how you first found Lauren when you raced to her with
Mhm.
that traumatic hours after this car accident that she was hit by a car, traumatic brain injury. This was her just not long before at a wedding. And then you walk in and you find her, and we've said it before, but you felt like you were walking in quicksand going down
Mhm.
that hospital hall, and this
Yeah.
is how you found her. But to your point about staying rooted in faith and that peace that surpasses all understanding, Philippians 4, 6, 7, this is now.
Mhm.
What are y'all doing now? You guys have a busy schedule.
Yes. So we go all over the country and do public speaking, and we share Lauren's story. She still struggles a lot with language skills, but leave it to Lauren to want to become a public speaker, with her struggle with words. And together we tell her story, and, intertwine the life lessons that we learned throughout our journey. And, she has a sense of purpose again, and she inspires, thousands of people every year. And it's good for us. We have a lot of mother daughter togetherness, so it's good for us to get out. She loves to travel, so we get to go to some pretty cool places to share her story. And we also share to kids in schools, and corporations all over St. Louis as well. And it really, really helps her feel like she's contributing to society again.
Yeah, and purpose is the word that you use. It's so
Mhm.
important. It's this purpose-driven life. Again, you wouldn't have scripted it. You couldn't
Mm.
have scripted it. But God being the ultimate author, or the ultimate editor, we say flip the script, and that's what
Mhm.
you've done. And so just to take this out, I want to show this again. So here she was not long before the accident in Chicago.
Visited. And that was like March, right before the accident. That was about a month before the accident in the FAO Schwartz in New York.
And we show it again because of the stark contrast. So I'm going to remove this gorgeous picture here. And then okay, so that was about a month before, you said?
Yes.
Okay, so we have that. Again, we're sharing all of this because we're hoping whatever you're up against, if it feels like a mountain, if it feels like it's hopeless, um, Colleen Murphy can tell you
Mhm.
that standing on faith and hope um, is how they've gotten to where they are now. But so there she was before the accident. Okay, here's what she had to do. It took work.
Good job. Swinging so quick. That was awesome.
Okay, we'll take a quick break.
Doing good. Keep trying with that right hand. So good, Lauren.
Good stretch.
All of the while leading by example. She just kept working,
Mhm.
working.
Mhm.
And she's so on point, for lack of a better word, right now. Still a lot of work to do, a traumatic brain injury.
Mhm.
But how I met her, I'm going to say it again. We said it in past episodes, but at Incarnate Word, we're both alums from Incarnate Word in North County here in St. Louis. She comes up to me, introduces herself, and hands me the business card for your speaking circuit.
Mhm.
Come on. Come on. That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
I know the story. And every single time, I think, again, when I have a chance to talk with you, I think, you know what? The together we can, together we will. It's classic. You've shown that, with your immediate family, and then the people who rose up to support you. And I think of you guys often out in my daily life. I do. I'm like, you remember, we should get like a bumper sticker. What would Lauren do?
Mhm.
And what would her, and choose the friend that Lauren had in her mom and her
Mhm.
dad, the
Mhm.
the friends that are that are going to encourage you, you know. So the whole story, I love it. There's so much humor. Again, we are chapter 11 of Murphys Don't Quit by Colleen Murphy. And do you have anything else to add, Mama?
Nope.
Okay.
No, that's
You
it.
know, I think what I'd love to do is take it out. And we said you're doing speaking engagements. This was the very first one out of the gate, right? This college commencement.
That was the first big one we had. We
Okay.
did a couple like little ones, but that was our first big one. I mean, I think we'd only done one or two when we were asked to do it. So we really, jumped out of the frying pan into the fire on that.
Yeah. And you practiced over and over again.
Mhm.
Work, work, work.
Mhm.
All right, Mama. Will we see you next week, or you guys have a speaking engagement?
I'm pretty sure I'm here
Okay.
next week. I fly by the seat of my pants. You got to ask me
I
2
know.
days.
I know that's why we're on chapter 11. I feel like I've known you my whole life, but it's all good. I
Yeah.
love it. It's part of the story that you have places to go, people to see, things to do, people to
Yeah.
inspire. And I love
Yeah.
it. I love you and I love Lauren. Give her a hug, and we'll just send this out then with this commencement again. It was 2019.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. God bless you, Mama. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Obviously, most of you are not going to have a catastrophic injury to deal with like Lauren has. We hope nobody has a catastrophic injury to deal with. But you will meet some roadblocks and some detours. And we hope that you remember this day and remember these lessons that Lauren shared with you might make that road just a little bit smoother. So Lauren, can we recap?
Of course. Number 1, show up. 2, find your cheerleader. 3, kindness is free. 4, work hard. 5, never give up. You got this, class of 2019. You got this. Thank you.